Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So there has been a lot of talk over the past week about being able to afford the American dream, which of course includes buying a home that you can then have your family live in. And there's a lot of, inner turmoil with President Trump talking about 50-year mortgage and, how Gen Z is very upset that they can't afford a home. And I agree that is an issue that needs to be addressed. But there's one idea that is not getting, a lot of pickup. And the pickup that it's getting is very strange. And that is Ron DeSantis's plan in Florida. Governor DeSantis is considering eliminating property taxes in the state altogether, which would be for people who live in that home. So it would not include investment properties. Here's Ron DeSantis on that.
Your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it. And, you're paying taxes for 50 years. But even for young families, it's become very difficult across this country to make ends meet. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have home ownership without having the burden of property tax that?
This seems like a very standard conservative position. It's not like controversial to say you should not have to pay rent to the government. You should not have to buy a home and then spend 20, 30, 50 years paying off that home, and yet you still never truly own your home because you would still pay rent to the government. Like, that should not be controversial in the year 2025. And somehow there's this weird internet conversation happening that feels a little inauthentic. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no proof that this is a paid campaign in support of property taxes, like pro-taxes for the conservative position. But it feels very inauthentic and weird, like someone's getting paid to talk about how property taxes are so great. And so I just wanted to go through this with you guys. And you guys let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Hit the bell and gently tap or smash the like button. And let us know that you enjoy watching Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So there's this guy. I'm trying to be totally fair. I'm not trying to slam him. He actually has more followers than me on X. I don't know who he is. But he has a Star Wars name that I'm not going to try to pronounce. And he's like, you're a boomer simp if you're pro abolishing property taxes. He said the median home buyer in Florida is 60 years old. Ending property tax massively benefits them, keeps them in housing stock that should turn over to the young, and gets them out of paying for public services for children. If you're anti-property tax, you're a boomer simp. Like, what? So this guy, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so you're basically saying because the median home buyer in Florida is 60 years old, we should kick all the old people, kick all the oldies out of the homes that they've paid for so that young people can buy them up? I'm sorry, are we conservatives or are we not? Now, also recognize that the guy who wrote that doesn't live in Florida. He lives in DC. So, doesn't even know what it's like to live in a place that cares about freedom and liberty. But also his math is not mathing, which Ron DeSantis kind of spelled out for him. He said a senior who has owned a home for 30 years pays much lower property taxes than a young family who purchased a comparable home, say in 2022, because of the tax basis of the former is much lower than the tax basis of the latter. A full exemption for homestead would provide a larger dollar amount to the young family, plus that savings could be compounded for decades. Now, here's another tweet. I suspect this will be quite bad for Florida. Notice the emojis in this person's bio. Okay. I suspect this will be quite bad for Florida. Property taxes account for 38.1% of Florida's tax revenue, and the state already has no income tax. Property taxes are very efficient, and they incentivize economically beneficial behavior. So, you guys in conservative world, who are all like pro-property, you're pro-tax all of a sudden, just recognize that you are siding with the people who have the LGBT flags in their bio. That's who you guys are on the same side. Okay? You're also on the same side of the commies, as I saw in my mentions when I gave my response, which I will read to you momentarily. But property taxes, it's not just a Floridian problem. It is a problem across the countries. I want to show you there's the top 5 worst culprits of increasing property taxes each year. You know, it's so interesting. It doesn't generally get lower. Okay, Georgia saw a 15% increase between 2023 to 2024. Texas was not far behind. This is property tax increases based on a $360,000 home, which is the median cost of a home in the United States. And so just because I live in Texas, okay, let's just take Texas as like an example. This would be the same $360,000 house. You're paying nearly $5,000 a year on property taxes. Before the increase, it was $400 less than that. And again, it doesn't generally go down. It just keeps going up. Now, another argument against getting rid of property taxes is like, what about the schools? Who's going to fund the schools? I mean, that's always the same. It's like really weird when you talk to conservatives who are very anti-tax, anti-government, communism, anti-socialism, and then all of a sudden you get the greater good explanation. And it's like, okay. So like, who's going to fund the police? Who's going to fund the schools? Who's going to fund, oh my God, whatever will I do if I can't call the city that I live in and complain to them, because so much happens when you call the city. The city's so easy to work with and so efficient, right? The county is so easy to work with and so efficient, right? So let's talk about the schools, okay? And let's talk about the fact that you don't have to be a boomer simp to have a problem with property taxes. I live in Texas. I'm not a boomer. I have 2 school-age children. Stephen, how much are we going to pay this year in property taxes just to own our home in Texas?
I don't like $10,000.
$10,000. Okay. Once our home is totally paid off, we've already paid for our home in full. You're still going to pay that $10,000 that's just going to go up every year to the local government just to own your home and the land that you have already paid for. That is communism. Okay. Plus, if you pay, more improvements, you improve your home, they penalize you for that. They punish you for that because then they can assess your value more. So then you're trying to benefit your community. You're trying to make sure that your home, you only increase the value on your home, and then they penalize you for that by charging you more. So you're paying double again. Plus, on top of that, the bulk of the money goes to the school district, which you're probably, if you're conservative, you're not going to want to use because they're indoctrinating your children into being gay and retarded Marxists. And they're using your taxpayer money to do it. Okay? So, like, I don't understand what is happening here. Why there is this weird conversation where these Zoomers, these Gen Zers are like, actually, we should just kick all the old people out of their homes. This is what I'm hearing. Actually, they have the most wealth, so they should be paying more. Guys, where do you hear the tax the rich argument? Where do you hear Stephen, where do you hear the tax the rich argument?
I feel like we heard it in New York a whole lot before they elected a communist mayor.
You know who agrees with the tax the rich argument? AOC. Like, it's the far left that is continuing to push this tax the rich argument. And now I'm hearing from the conservative side, actually, we should just tax the old people more because they own most of the wealth. Tax the rich. This is going to be a disaster if we can't explain how to actually conserve things, how to actually be true conservatives. That's going to be a terrible disaster. And I don't understand, guys. People are like, well, how are you going to fund things? Well, I don't know. How do you accept the premise of Doge on a federal level? How do you accept the premise that we have in big governments a ton of waste and fraud and abuse and corruption and then pretend like local governments are immune to that. Pretend like there is no waste or fraud or abuse that could and should be cut. Like, I don't understand how that is not, how they're not getting that. And how they are not realizing that property taxes are just essentially a tax on unrealized gains. Like, they're basing what you are paying in property taxes. You have to pay the government what they assess your home's value is, but you haven't sold your home. So that's not actually money that you've gained. You've not brought that in from selling your home, but you still have to pay on the value, which is, again, what I'm saying. It goes up. You do something to your home to make it more valuable, it goes up. You've got to pay it on the back end to pay the government for improving your home. So the argument that this is like antithetical to freedom and liberty isn't hard to make. I don't understand why the claim is that this only helps boomers. Like, that's kind of retarded if you consider, like, hey, if you're young and you ever want to own a home, the boomers are eventually going to die because everyone does. And then can you afford that home and the astronomical property tax every year? Take this into consideration. Let's talk about generational wealth. Say you have parents who have they are the boomers that apparently you hate because they've done very well for themselves. They're the boomers that apparently you hate because they've worked really hard, which I personally don't mind at all because they've earned their own wealth. And like, I don't fault them for that because I'm not anti-capitalism. Okay. But say you have parents who are wealthy because they've worked hard and they own a lot of land. Okay. They own a ton of land and they own a beautiful home that they care to pass to you, that they would like to give to you when they die. Consider you will not even be able to keep your parents' property or home with the astronomical property taxes that you will owe at the end of every year on land and a home that they already paid for. Like, I don't understand what we're doing here. But arguing against changing property taxes, reforming property taxes, I personally would love the abolition of property taxes because I think that it is completely antithetical to freedom. But at the very least, can we talk about reforming it rather than being called a boomer simp? I know a lot of young people who own homes who this is like actually a very big problem for them. I was getting people when I gave my response, I was getting people in the comments like, well, it just goes to you're too wealthy. You have the same mentality as a boomer because you're wealthy. It's like, okay, first of all, I don't know, is the conservative argument now we should be punishing people who are wealthy? I don't own a mansion. I can promise you it's like a very regular suburban home. And I'm still paying that much in property taxes. It's unsustainable, guys. And if you're young and you ever want to own a home, you should recognize that this is a problem for everyone. So let's solve the problem for everyone. And you don't need to be jealous that maybe boomers also get, like, they get to benefit from solving the problem. This is a very weird dynamic. We should not be tax the rich. All right. And in closing, I would like to just remind you, my friend Eric July, really, he's quite eloquent at times, and I think he summed it up best.
Walter Block has a long form write-up of the privatization of roads and highways. This is level one shit. Just because maybe you can't figure it out, which is okay. This is why we're for free markets. Just because you can't figure out how minus taxation, people would say, damn, I need to get over there. What if we built a goddamn flat space? If you think people can't figure that shit out, or you can't figure out how people would do that, that's on you. That's okay. This is why we're free markets. Let the smart people kind of figure that shit out and allocate those resources. But I promise you, homies, you're not fooling now libertarian by bringing up them bitch ass roads. Them hoe ass roads, man.
them hoe-ass roads. I don't need the government to build my damn roads. I think we can figure it out. I think we can use private companies to figure that out. Okay? Government, like, how often there are places. I thought I was going to close. I'm not, because do you know what? There are places where I live. I know there are places where you live where the roads have been under construction for like 10 years. Do you know why? Because they have money and they're like, I don't know, we'll just pay for more construction on the roads. Like, they don't actually intend on solving your problem with the roads or the schools or anything else. It's just a money suck. They see you as a serf. And you just have to pay them. You funnel them your money and they'll just use it on whatever they feel like, whatever pet project they feel like. And they know that they're going to get more of your money every single year. So they just keep spending it. They have no incentive to not, because they know that you have to pay it or else they can punish you. It's just so stupid. What about the schools? What about the roads? What about the police? What about guys? We don't need the government to solve our problems. They're the ones, oftentimes, who are causing the problems. Please, enough with this tax the rich bullshit. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.